I'll tell you what we're talking about just after this. But thank you for staying with Daybreak. The hashtag we're using is Daybreak. Our guests are with us already. Janet Mbugu, a media personality. Thank you so much for coming in. This is no strange place for you,
It's strange being on this side, but yeah, it's really good to be here.
Why have you missed the other names?
He's stage name.
Anyway,
I always do the four,
we're gonna
but we'll
start
talk about that
our
at the
domain
end.
from a while back.
Now they have domains, they'll sort them out after this. We also have Evelyn Kasina, CEO Evminet. Thank you so much for coming in. We're still waiting for Philip Ogola, digital humanitarian, and Yasmin Said, who's a comedian. They're running late. They say there's traffic, but we know there's no traffic because Kimani Mbugu said the roads are clear.
Actually, we just took a look.
The usual Kenyan excuse. Let's get into the paper news.
Sometimes I think the roads get pissed off when you oversleep and then blame them.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. All right, this is what's happening. Front pages of the Daily Nation and the Standard. Pretty much related stories. The spending of money, especially in what many consider the wrong way. The beginning of the front page of the Standard. Dawn raid adds fire to governor's probe. Kiambu governor seized by anti-corruption detectives probing suspected 600 million irregular tenders as more county chiefs are put on the spot of our wasteful spending. And you can see pictures there of Muthomi Njuki, Governor Tharaka Nithi, a former governor there, Daniel Waithaka, Dr. Evans Kidero, former governor Nairobi, and a list of others as well. While on the front page of the Daily Nation, a picture there of Governor Waitito being politely escorted into a waiting van to make his way to the EACC. Some are asking, is this much ado over nothing? And some people on social media actually listed how many governors have been taken to the EACC and what happens to them after that. Nobody quite knows. But I want to broaden the discussion this morning to both of my guests. And Evelyn, I'll start with you. Your thoughts. War on corruption. Is there a missing link? Is there a war on corruption? What do you feel as you take a look at these headlines this morning?
I know the institutions that are mandated to, fight graft are doing what they need to do, and there is law and policy. But from my point as a Kenyan, I just feel it's painfully slow.
You just feel it's painfully slow?
Yeah, because,
okay.
I know things are happening behind the scene and they can't keep, parading it on the newspapers. But when we are not seeing tangible results, then I wonder what's going on.
Okay.
Because people go in, then they go out. Then there's silence. Then we make noise on KOT, then there's silence, then you don't know what's going on. But I do believe that there's something going on, for real, because at least we've been seeing people even just being taken to, interrogation. So there must be something happening.
So for you, it's like one step forward?
One step.
Not 3 steps back?
No.
Okay.
There's something happening, positive, yeah.
But are you happy with the systems? Because when you hear that a lady who's been jailed for 30 years for having banged, 2,800, even though they say she's a repeat offender, your argument would be some of these politicians are repeat offenders. We've seen them doing it all the time. But they don't get the same swift justice, so to speak. Should we then change the systems and the infrastructural system in terms of organizations and what they do and how they do it? Because some people also argue that what we've seen so far is that the governor is picked and then they look for evidence, not the other way around.
Exactly.
Find the evidence first and then come for me.
Being a person who has actually gone through a court case since 2015, which was just finalized in 2019.
4 years down the line.
I can tell you that different cases have different merits. And it just depends. I mean, the system sometimes can be really slow. And depending on what it is, I think also for our leaders, because they're still in office, maybe, I don't know if there's a different line of and channel of apprehending them, but at least when we see people going to jail for certain things, for me, that's progress. But I think knowing that I've been in the system, there is an issue there, for sure.
There's an issue there?
There is an issue which I think we need it sorted.
Okay.
Things should be fast-tracked, and I think if we start digitizing some of the processes, we should be able to see justice come soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Janet, you can also weigh in on this. And for you, I'd also be curious to hear from you. You would read these stories every day in the news. And now you get to a place where you don't have to read them every day.
Is that one of the reasons you left? Were you tired?
You're like, no, are there times when you are like, come on, media, we need to hear more, or we need to press further? What are your thoughts about all this? Because you've had 2 different perspectives.
Yeah, it's true. It's obviously when you read them, and I'm sure you feel the same, it does get to a point where as a citizen there is a frustration because this affects us all. If the system isn't fair and isn't just, it affects every single individual. And even then, looking from this side, from the outside looking in, it's even more than what Evelyn has said. I like what she's talked about there being, at least there's a show that these people are being apprehended.
This is a show.
But my biggest concern is that there is no follow through, so to speak, or you do find that after a few months, this person is out and about. So it begs the question, is this process a fair one? Is it going to yield the kind of results that we want to see for the country? My honest opinion is that as of now, no. It's a system here and it's elsewhere around the world. I think we're just seeing a lot of corruption kind of sliding by in many parts of the world, whether it's in the US, etc. It's very discouraging for me as a Kenyan, as a person. I genuinely get disheartened about it because I don't see how they may use one person as a token for, you know, for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who will get away because it is what it is, whether it's bribery, corruption, whether it's people knowing each other at a very high level. And I like to get to the heart of the issue. So I'm not even getting technical about it. I'm not getting into the laws, constitution, etc. For me, it's the heart of the issue as a person, as a Kenyan. It breaks my heart to see this happen. It is good, I agree with her. This wouldn't happen before. Somebody being apprehended in front of the cameras where everybody
From
can
their
see.
comfortable
So
home.
there's a
Being in
bit
front
of
of the,
progress
even on being put on the spot
Yeah.
in front of, you know, government officials in front of the country. But then they go and have coffee after, maybe, who knows? It's just heartbreaking, I'm just saying.
Can you share with us the link between corruption and poverty? In your some of the new roles that we've seen you playing after media is that of an activist. You get to deal with people on the ground.
Right.
What is happening on the ground? Because in many ways we separate corruption from poverty, but corruption plays a very big part in the wealth or lack of it of our people in a nation.
Absolutely. If I'm just to give an example of something that I'm very passionate about, which is there not being any menstrual equality, that's what I would call it. And so you have these girls and women who don't have access to product, don't have access to information, they don't have access that is their right. And then on the government level, yes, there could be a policy, even though it's 2 lines in an entire... It's 2 lines. A line and an amendment. And then you have a budgetary allocation. But then you get information that a lot of this isn't reaching the ground. Leave alone the fact that the policy is just not enough. It's a line and an amendment, whereas this should be a separate bill. Because you're looking at sexual and transmitted diseases, because you have girls having sex for pads, you have a woman, absolutely, transactional sex for pads. It's so rife, and you're looking at a 13-year-old girl, don't even look far. And then there's unwanted pregnancy because of that. So at the end of the day, there's high rates of dropout, and these girls may not be able to compete the same way Eden and I can, because we have access. And so of course it feeds into poverty, because now she'll be a mom at 13, and it doesn't stop. The pattern then happens is that you'll end up having 3-4 children. By the time you're in your 20s, you still don't have enough income, and so the poverty is passed on.
Plus, they won't finish the education.
They won't finish the education.
right.
The mother has to choose between food on the table and access to sanitary products. The corruption for me is that there is a budgetary allocation, but it's not being received on the ground.
Down.
It's not trickling down. So they'll remain there. But the biggest thing is at a policy level. If that also doesn't change, then you don't find much change. So I actually put up a petition yesterday on my social media. And it's gotten 2,000 signatures right now. 2,000. And the idea is not to say they're doing nothing. I agree with what you're saying. There is something being done in some ways,
level.
like a little tiny step, but it's not enough. And we demand that it should be more than 2 lines, for example. And so for me, it's let's prioritize it as an issue.
But the young people you speak to, do they understand the relationship with that? Because there's always a domino effect where do they know that this is a right and it's a government that's failing if they don't have access to certain things? Because the other thing is, they're the same people
Understanding
still
the
vote.
rights.
They vote for the same exact leaders who are there. You wanted to jump into that?
I'm saying that is the exact problem, is that people don't have information. And what society has made, when you're really desperate, you will do anything to have food on your table. And I'll tell you an instance of, I went to Kayole and we were rallying women to do table banking. Do you know the way women do table banking? And collectively, we can get a tender and service it for a year, because collectively we can take loans and we can service a tender. We spoke with them for a whole day. And one of them just told us, thank you guys for coming here. You've not wasted your time, but I don't think it is practical for you to tell me what I can do tomorrow when I don't have food today. It
So
is
they're
not
more
practical.
immediate needs.
They tell me it's not practical for you to tell me that I can do certain things to uplift my life, when in the evening I'll tell my daughter to come sleep with men just outside here, and they were pointing to us outside because they either need food, they need the sanitary towels, and that is the reality on the ground. But then even when they meet, they were heshimiwas because they came, because it was a government funded project. When they came, they will just throw in the good language. They'll do the PR that needs to be done. And when they leave, you're back to square one. I met a lady who had a toddler in her hands and sufurias on her back. And I asked her, why do you have cutlery with you? And she told me, I can't risk to leave these things at home because I am hustling out there, and then when I come back, I'll find my husband has come, taken the stuff, gone to sell and gone to drink. Then how do I cook for my children? How do I serve my children?
So she has literally...
So she cleans and carries her stuff on her back, and she has a toddler.
And that's the reality. I like what you're saying. I always feel like we come from a place of entitlement when we're trying to engage people on the ground. We have to step out of our privilege bubble. Because what you're saying is the same thing I hear when I go on the ground. When I've spent time with a lot of girls, women, and men, they say that's all well and good. You'll have people come and do donations and speak a very nice language, and they
take photos for
and they'll take
Instagram.
photos for Instagram. Even I had to step out of my privilege bubble and get back to going on the ground and understanding the issue. And you realize sometimes people mean well, but they come from a place of entitlement because they don't have a meal. Like, let's start by the fact that I don't have food, and you want to empower me with what?
With what?
And so it's important with information.
Not enough.
But if you can even combine the two and make it accessible for them, or give them tools to be reliant or sufficient, then we're addressing the problem. But when we come from the outside and say, hi, we're here with good news, we're going to leave you with this information and all these pads and underwears, bye. A lot of those people were telling me those things like the reusable cups. Again, I'm going into the field of menstrual equality. They're like, that's still on my shelf because I'm like, A, I don't have access to clean water, so I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to use it. B, that's not really my core issue right now. So we need to step back and engage in a different way. We need to really understand, and not just for the optics, but really get to the heart of the issue and sit down and engage them and make it a relationship. Don't go once and say, got you, let me go do the report. Spend time. And if we really want to make change, then I think that's the way to do it. You really have to spend time engaging, understanding the different issues in that society, in that community, and then have them give recommendations that could work. And all you're doing is equipping them with a broader way of thinking. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Trevor, I think we have the basis for a topic on philanthropic works, charity, and how to do it and how not to do it. How to do it in a genuine manner. And I think that's something we need to focus on.
I like what she says, stepping out of your privilege bubble so that you know the more immediate needs.
And I think people on the ground need to know that the leaders that they chose, the people we voted for, should be accessible. They are accessible. I keep telling people, walk into any government office and demand to be served because
But
you're the
you
one
might
who
stay
put
there the
that
whole
person
day.
there. When you're being harassed, for instance, in an office, there is a labor law that says you can go to the labor offices and you put out your case. Those people are there to serve us. But I think we come from a point where, we're seeing people in big cars and they have bodyguards everywhere. So how do I access Mheshimiwa? And I want to tell them. And then I think also from the rural part of it is the fact that now people are used to handouts. So as opposed to me expecting handouts, how can I make sure that I explain to you what I really want to do and make it happen? Not for me, but for 20 other people. Or empower a village that will empower many other people. Having projects that have sustainability. I think that is how the conversation
we might talk about the 6 billion Huduma number project.
Huduma number project.
And addressing more immediate needs.
If you turn to page 12 of the Daily Nation, the new government spokesman says that the Huduma number deadline will not be extended. And bearing in mind the court insisted that there should not be a deadline, it should be an ongoing process. But he says that there is a deadline. It's the 25th of May. And of course, he added a new component to it when he said that any person whose data has errors can get the issue addressed at the local chief's office in a 4-month period after the registration deadline. On the other hand, those who register successfully will have their Huduma numbers sent to them through their mobile phones. Evelyn, do you understand?
No.
Why?
I'm in the tech space.
That was a swift answer.
Let me just tell you, I'm in the tech space. I don't understand why it took me close to 5 hours to get my registration done. I do not understand that.
I hope you are not going on the last day or second last day.
No. I think I took it on Mother's Day. First, it was the day I needed to be putting my feet up and be pampered. But I spent it queuing and talking to my children because they were at a point where they could not take it anymore. And my son was asking me, do I really need to be here? And I'm like, the government requires you to put in your biometrics. And he did not get it. I mean, I believe that we can do this in a better way, a faster way, because as an entrepreneur and as an employer, if I have to think about this critically and how much time it took me, then how much time do I give all my workers to spend out there queuing to do this?
That's right.
And they're supposed to be working and delivering. We all know the economy of the country right now is really in a deep. So it doesn't make economic time sense for me. For me, that I don't know.
But even in the tech space, having all these details already, your ID number is there, your KRA PIN is there, your birth certificate is there, NHIF, NSSF, all those things already there. Do you still need an Huduma number? And then just to know that you'll still produce your ID anyway.
At least in the interim.
Yeah.
That does not make sense to me.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just like, I have a lot to say, but I'm not going to
Jump
rant.
in, jump in.
It's not like I'll say it all here, but I absolutely agree with you in terms of the inconvenience. For me, that's what triggered me to just say something, because first of all, why are you rushing us? Isn't this, why can't you create a process that just allows people, first the process I already have a problem with, based on exactly what you've just said, Trevor, where we have all of this information, it just doesn't make sense. I'm sure somewhere deep inside there is some semblance of sense in this, but I don't see it, or some justification, I don't see it. I feel like it was done in such a, already there's enough on our plates as Kenyans. That's what I always say. In as much as we come from a country that has great opportunity, great people, great spirit, great drive, we're also deeply frustrated on so many fronts. The just cost of living is so high, and so you need people out there working. I don't know why you want to add another frustration little thing in my bucket.
And it's time bound.
And it's time bound. That's for me the deepest frustration, is that it's time bound. What's the rush? Why can't we just do this over a long period of time until, why couldn't you do it with the census? That would have been the best thing.
What happens to babies born this week?
That's the other question.
My
Mothers
husband works in a
when they're
hospital,
born
and I
after the
asked
deadline.
if they're doing the Huduma in hospital, and he said no. That's why we're here.
You see?
So I asked, so what about the nurses who are working, and they should be working, because that's for them is a matter of life and death. So what happens to them if this particular curfew is, when is it, tomorrow? 25th.
Yeah.
So what happens to the people in hospital?
And that's what I asked. I was like, what happens to people in hospital, people who don't have, who are differently abled? Why can't we, if we have to do this service, bring it to people, put it in all schools and offices? Why can't we do that? Why does it have to be so troublesome? I don't get that bit. It's not fair, and it doesn't make sense. We can have more time to extend it, etc. But all in all, I just think it's shed light in a bad way for me. It's left a really bad taste in my mouth, because it wasn't well thought out. People feel harassed, people have been frustrated, people have lost out on time, and they also just don't understand, okay, what next? You know, so
the what next is that a number will be sent to your phone. Don't lose your number. Don't lose your phone between now and